All right, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in to Bali Unplugged podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by BaliPropertyFinanced.com, where we reduce the barriers to entry so you can own your own first property business in Bali safely and securely. Don't forget to stick around to the end of the podcast because our guest may or may not have a little gift for you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bali Unplugged podcast, your local guide to understanding the Bali business landscape from tourism, property, experiences, and everything that you need to know when coming to Indonesia. And we have a very special guest on today.
Okay, hi everyone. My name's Emma Brown. I've been living in Bali now for around 12 years. So I came to Bali when I was 4 months pregnant, actually in 2000 and what are we looking at? 2012 in August. And then, I was 4 months pregnant with my daughter, and my husband and I were at the point in time we were in a financial situation. We just sold our business back home in Grafton in New South Wales. We had a pub back there and we leased that out for an extended period of time. And we'd always come to Bali previously for holidays and celebrating birthdays and etc. So we kind of knew, okay, we had a bit of time up our sleeve before we kind of sat and went, okay, what's our next journey? What are we going to do next? And it just happens to be we came to Bali for a 3-month holiday just to kind of sit on it and process that. While we were here, we're like, okay, let's start looking around for a business. Maybe we could start a business here and something could transpire from what we were doing back home, which was hospitality in the pub game. So we started looking for property, and within a matter of, I think, 2 months, we found the perfect location. And that was at the time in Dianapura in Legian. And we had Lucky Day. And that was kind of our baby for, 10 years. I had my second daughter here. And that kind of went smoothly. And then, we sold that in September of 2019. I'm originally from the Hunter Valley in Cessnock in New South Wales. And then growing up, kind of my childhood was like my parents both separated, and I saw how hard they both worked at the time. And then that kind of always instilled in me, okay, I need to, knuckle down, work hard. And to be honest, I couldn't wait to get the hell out of Cessnock, to be honest. And
Australia.
Yeah, it was just the mentality that I had with some of my friends, actually they still work there, still live there, haven't traveled overseas, and I was like, I can't wait to get the hell out of this town. And then that's kind of, to be honest,
Okay.
that's the truth. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's interesting that you say that because I mean, I get a lot of responses from city folk from Australia.
Yeah.
And they get sort of the same sort of sense of like everyone's sort of just sort of closed-minded. They only just talk about the past. They don't want to talk about anything new. And it's like the thing that draws them to Bali is the whole mentality of like traveling and meeting new people. It's that cosmopolitan vibe, as some would put it.
Oh, there's
Um,
so many, sorry.
yeah. No, continue, please.
So even with like just being here through COVID, we were here too, like there were so many people stuck on the island, so it was like you had to make friends with new people because there was not many people around. So you might not have got along well with them, but you actually they became your extended family. I've met so many brand new people just during that COVID time because we were all stuck together. We couldn't leave. No one was coming into Bali. No one was flying out of Bali. And with our restaurant, obviously we opened the Pavilion. We were actually open, so I could only rely on that expat crowd to come in, and the locals. So that kind of you got to see so many new faces and meet new faces that were stuck here because not many places were open either. I kind of stop me if I'm wrong. I kind of feel like we're jumping around. Like, should I be talking about the Pavilion beforehand, or are we going to because I haven't spoke about that? Are we just jumping or?
It's completely fine. Because
Okay.
I prefer having just a natural conversation. We don't need to
Okay.
continue to start just because it makes it difficult for me to cut later. I just want to have a natural flow of conversation. So whatever we play with, it's like don't worry so much about it.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, cool. So you talked about a bit about your history and how you sort of made the decision about coming to Bali, which is really cool. how do you feel Bali has sort of shaped, shaped you as a person? So, Emma, how do you balance your personal and your professional life in Bali?
Okay, so for this one, for me, this is a little tricky, because I find this quite challenging for us because since we're in hospitality, we have obviously so many friends and family coming to Bali, and obviously owning a restaurant. They're
Mhm.
like, oh, let's catch up, let's catch up. So we do spend, like my husband and I, we do spend a lot of time there catching up with friends and family. And of
Yeah,
course, we wouldn't have it any other way. But I do find that very tricky to go, okay, our friends are coming over. It's just so much easier to meet up at the pavilion.
yeah,
Um, with the kids and stuff like that, they're very cruisy, very breezy. They kind of definitely fit into our lifestyle. But I do have to make an effort um, in the back of my mind going, okay, this is now family time and this is work time. So it's very challenging for both my husband and I to do that because it's to try and switch off and then to switch on. So
yeah.
it's quite
Gotcha,
tricky for us.
gotcha. So,
Yeah.
and what obviously, it's quite tricky, and it seems to be like one of your big challenges in Bali. The next question here is, what are some of the unique challenges that you faced living and working in Bali, aside from, having to slot the children into your routine? So,
Yeah, I would definitely say the biggest challenge we probably face is that we're just missing our friends and family, and FOMO is real. It's not like you can always jump on a plane and go back home to Australia to attend every single friend's wedding or every single christening that your friends have. It's yeah, like FOMO, FOMO is the biggest thing. Um, and sometimes you just feel like especially if you see on Facebook or socials and you see your friends doing this and doing that, and sometimes you're looking from an outsider's perspective, even though they're your friends and family, but you're from the outside looking into their life. And
yeah,
that's quite, sorry, I'm getting emotional. That's actually quite challenging.
it is. Yeah, exactly. So, do you miss home? Because obviously, there's FOMO and there's fear of missing out, and sometimes you wish you could go back home. Is it something that you're like you'd never give up, or you may look at going back home in the future?
um, well, we always said that when we're in Bali we're going to do it for 5 years,
Mm.
and then now obviously 5 years is turning into what, 13 years this year. I think that it'll come to a time, and that will probably be based on our children, because with our kids being what, in year 8 and year 6, I think there'll be a time where it's like, okay, what's next? Like, we get to year 12, we've got university happening. Could I leave my children and let them go to university on their own? It probably wouldn't be in Indonesia or Bali. So
Mm.
we'd probably have to look like sending the kids back home to Australia, or potentially we've spoken about sending them to Singapore,
No,
which
okay.
both, if we send them to the East Coast, which is 6 hours away, I'm kind of not happy about that. But if we send them to the West Coast in Perth, that's only a 2 hour, 40 minute, 3 hour, 40 minute flight. And then Singapore's only 2 hours away.
Yeah,
So then it's kind of still close to mum. But I feel like we'll just probably cross that bridge when we get to it. We've still got my oldest daughter, she's in year 8. So we've probably still got like another, 5 years before we kind of have to worry about that.
so what you're saying is the biggest concern is, especially for your kids, is that university, it's probably not the best place to send them here, obviously, because there's not really much tertiary access to
Yes,
schooling.
correct.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So your options are Singapore and Perth.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Okay, okay. And would that mean you're still housed in Bali and then the kids just fly down to Perth and they're sort of like boarded
Yeah, I think so. And I
up at Perth?
think if anything was to happen to them, I'm only like, I know, a 2 hour flight away, or, a 3 hour flight away, if
Yeah.
anything terrible was to happen. Look, we do have friends that are in Perth, and obviously all our friends are over in the East Coast.
Hmm.
But, we've always got someone there that could jump in and go, hey, look, I'm happy to, if something terrible was to happen.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So do you feel that the current high school standard, the international high school standard here, is good enough to get into like universities such as UWA or Edith Cowan or Notre Dame in WA?
Look, I believe so. It is actually like, if you, do the work and you get the grades, I
Mm.
do believe, there's been people in, previous years that have go to those schools from AIS. There's been kids that have got they've been given scholarships to
Yep.
go to America and being given scholarships to travel to go to school in Spain. So I do believe, yes, that's correct. Look, both my girls do have dyslexia, so for them it is a little bit challenging. And the school
Yep.
that they do go to, which is the Australian International School here, they actually do cater for their needs. So the classes are quite good. They've got like 24 kids to a class. With that, they always have a teacher, and they
Yep.
also have a teacher's aide.
Oh,
So if
wow.
they do
Okay.
get stuck or behind, so the ratio is pretty good from kids to teachers.
What's the ratio
The
again?
school, 24.
24. That's
Yeah.
about,
So
that's great.
normally I think, is it Australia's like 30, I think,
30.
32
Yep.
maybe?
30.
Um, so the ratio is actually quite good.
Mm.
And they're happy there. The actual school itself, the facilities are actually amazing. They've got, a
Yeah.
50-meter lap pool, they've got tennis courts, they've got an indoor basketball court, they've got a turfed soccer field, running field. So it is actually a really good school. And
Yeah.
we looked around at many schools, and I personally
Mm.
believe that we're sending our kids to the right school for them at their time, what they need.
Nice, nice, nice. Okay, cool. Just a quick tip, right? In Western Australia, Notre Dame has some of the most unique ways of entry. Even if you may not be able to hit like the stats or the what do they call it? It's not TE anymore. It's called something else.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
even if you don't hit those grades, you can go in entry via having an interview, and that's how I actually got into university because I was just
Oh,
like
okay,
five
nice.
marks down from being able to enter psychology in Notre Dame, and so I went to go and meet them and met the dean, and by the time I got home, a couple of weeks later I got the invite letter, so it was good. So yeah,
That's good to know. My eldest daughter, she actually wants to be an architect. So I was thinking maybe we do something like TAFE related first to try and keep her here for like 12 months because she's actually quite young for her year. And
yeah,
then get like as in a drafts person. And then hopefully then go transition to TAFE or, do something bridging to go to university. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
nice.
Nice. Okay, cool. So that's not too far away, and I guess you'll cross that bridge when you get there, as you said before.
Yeah, I think so. So it's just going so fast that even the 12, 13 years we've been here has flown. Like it's gone so fast.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. So the next question, uh, number 8, how how has living in Bali influenced your personal growth and development?
Um, I I think I've become a better communicator, especially with I'm normally a fast talker, and I feel like just we have I think what 60 something staff now, and just to talk to the staff at work, I've got to really like slow it down.
How many staff?
Um, we've got over 60 staff at work.
60
Um,
staff.
yeah, so
Wow.
that's just and I've lived here and I actually feel really sad about it. My Indonesian's not very good at all after I've been here for 12, 13 years. Only
Got
because
biscuit Indonesia?
yeah, my husband actually speaks really good Indonesian. So he's normally down there most days. He goes down there and has a beer with mates and friends and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay.
So he can actually talk really, really well to them. But I'm actually lacking because normally if I'm doing something, I'm either working from home or I
Yep,
have surrounded myself with really my staff that actually speak very good English. So in that
yeah,
way, I'm actually pretty sad. But I keep saying every year, oh, I'm going to improve my Indonesian. But so far not as yet. But yeah, communication, just even just talking, I've tried to like slow everything down,
yeah.
um, and be more patient. I think, it's
Nice.
Bali, you think in, Australia, you want everything to happen now, now, now. And then in Bali, it just takes that little bit longer and you
Just
just got to be
uh,
more patient.
that's right. It's funny you say that because one of the first things that I noticed coming to Bali is that especially on the roads, right? It's so hectic. But
Yeah.
but if it was like happening in Australia, I know that I would be really stressed. But in
Yeah,
Bali, for some reason, maybe because it's sort of like there's a lack of road rules, that it's just so like even if people are just driving past you, cutting you off, it's like you don't really care. But if you're back in
yeah.
Australia, it's like, man, this guy's an asshole for like cutting me off, and it's so weird having that shift in perspective here.
Well, I drive a car here and a bike,
Oh,
and you've always got to be thinking like, okay, someone comes out of a side street
yeah,
or a side gang, and
you
you've
got to
got
be
to go,
active.
okay, you've got to kind of perceive what they're doing before they even do it. Like, obviously sometimes there's come around the corner, don't look, and you've got to, toot toot here, and it's just like sometimes like, hey, I'm just behind you, or I'm to your left, I'm giving you a little toot, and it's not out of aggression, it's just like, hey, just letting you know I'm here in the car
Yeah,
or in the bike.
it's
Yeah,
active driving with communication with the horn.
yeah.
Yeah,
And no one
yeah,
gets offended by it. But if you were obviously to do that in Australia, people would get, why are
oh,
you honking at me?
yeah. It's like they flip you the bird or like, yeah, what?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, you've answered the question for personal growth and development. Can you share some experience where you've really had to sort of adapt to the cultural differences in Bali compared to, what you're used to in Australia?
Yeah. So I would say that one of the biggest cultural difference would be, we've obviously got our public holidays in Australia where we've got, Easter and Christmas and so forth. I think Indonesia has like 17 public holidays, and then the staff have all got, their cremations and weddings and, banja ceremonies and so forth. Um, to try and schedule staff with 60 staff going, oh, I've got a ceremony here, and I've got a public holiday here. And of course, everyone wants Galungan off, and everyone wants the day before Nippy off and the day after Nippy off.
Hmm.
Trying to schedule 60 staff, that has been very challenging. Luckily, I've now passed the reins over. We have two Western managers.
Yep.
So they kind of do our scheduling now, but it's definitely that's quite challenging trying to fit in and make everyone happy.
Gotcha. So it's interesting that you mentioned scheduling and whatnot, because it's something that most people aren't sort of clued onto when they even consider moving to Bali, because it's a part of a business thing. Um, is there any particular tools that your managers use or that you guys use to help you schedule, or is it all manual on spreadsheets?
It's all manual on spreadsheets. So it's kind of like, okay, first in, best dressed. We do for special, more so obviously weddings and cremations and their own individual like banja ceremonies. But for the
Mhm.
major public holidays, we kind of do first in, best dressed. And obviously if a staff members had, couldn't get off, they'd probably work Galungan and vice versa. If you have the day before Nippy off, you're more likely to come in the day after Nippy. So everyone's kind of treated equal. But it's one of, I would say, running a business in Bali would be the most challenging, because you've still got your customers coming through. You've just got to kind of make sure your staff are happy and working, and we've got enough on to cater for those customers.
That is so hectic, having 60 staff. How do you manage it all, Emma? Oh,
Look, it is challenging, and then, people, rock up, and sometimes they're not in 100% work mode, and we just have to go, okay, well, we obviously know your strengths and your weaknesses of your staff. But we manage, and as I said, we're very lucky that we've got our two Western managers working with us now,
mm.
Mark and Jordan. So they've really helped a lot, especially it's been able to let my husband and I now step back a little, and kind of more try and focus, as I said, like on, having the memorable time with the kids, and focus, more so when we've got family and friends coming over.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Beautiful. So, what kind of advice, Emma, do you do you have to give to someone who's basically considering moving to Bali?
I would definitely do, like, obviously research. I feel like, power is knowledge. Obviously from me, I'm from a country town back home in Australia. So when we did come, I didn't kind of want to live in like a really hustle and bustly area. Um, So I kind of, for my personal opinion, I wouldn't go, I'm going to move out to Canggu, because since COVID, you've actually found that a lot of people are moving to Canggu now, and it's just hustle and bustle and crazy in the traffic.
crazy.
We actually chose to live in Seminyak, and we're in a gated community, which I really like that. So we're surrounded by like 40 plus houses, and the kids can ride out the bikes and stuff like that in the area. And my eldest daughter this year's learned to start to ride a motorbike. Which is quite good, but she just rides around the gated community. But I would definitely do research of where you want to live. And then also, if you wanted to start a business in Bali, you've got to work out if you're doing something, and then say, for example, in Australia, and you go, oh, I think that would really work in Bali. You've got to kind of think of the logistics of how that's going to transpire to be in Bali. Because sometimes if it works in Australia, it doesn't mean it's always going to work in Bali.
Oh, hell no. Yeah, exactly. A lot of the times people get that, that wake up call is like, okay, business doesn't operate the same way here in Bali.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess this moves on to our next question, right? How do you stay connected to your community in Bali? What role do you play in it?
Well, I think
curveball?
we do a lot of, with work, we do a lot of ceremonies. Like with the Pavilion, we do our yearly ceremony. And that is just like to, for the building, for the staff, we do our staff, what do you call it? Sorry. Staff parties. We do staff parties, and then also every day our staff do our offerings, which we have a temple inside our restaurant. So it's just the little things like that. And then obviously we do when we have Kunigan and Galungan, we make sure we put extra offerings out. We do put out sorry, I've just had it completely mind blank.
That's right.
We've just had what are the Panjors? That's it. Sorry,
Panjors. Yep.
We put out Panjors. So especially with our work, we definitely try and do everything we can. Just like they would do in the village, we do also that at the Pavilion. So that kind of also gives everyone a sense of, okay, I am coming to work. I enjoy coming to work, and I kind of really don't have much to really go on that.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, cool. So can you tell us about, a particular time when you faced a significant challenge in Bali and how you overcame it?
Okay, so this one is pretty easy for me. I would say definitely COVID. COVID for us was pretty crazy. So we sold our business in the September of 2019. Didn't know what was obviously coming, and in the kind of, COVID hit, February, and we were like, okay, we need to look at doing something else. And not knowing that COVID was going to stick around for as long as it was, we decided to sign a lease on our new place. Perfect location, Pavilion Surf Club, right across the road from the ocean. So we signed that in the April of 2020, and we're thinking, okay, by the time we open, we had to do a major reno on it. We're going to open in the October of 2020. We're like, oh, COVID won't even be around then. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so naive looking back now. So we opened, and then we were like, I think we opened around the middle of October, and it was like mid-November, and we're like, okay, this is real now. And then it was probably a good 18 months. I would say probably of April of 2022 maybe. We actually started seeing our, first lot of international tourists coming back. So it was a good 18 months, and it was challenging. It was very challenging. But you know what? We persevered. We had to borrow some money off friends and family. And we got by, because obviously we still had to pay staff. We still had to buy food to sell and alcohol to sell and stuff like that. So for us, that was the most challenging, not only from a career point of view, but also I think from an emotional and with a relationship with my husband. I really tested that.
Yeah. Well, COVID was definitely a very challenging time in Bali, and a lot of people say it was a good thing for them because it gave the island a chance to breathe. At the same time, it was also very stressful for some. How has your perspective on life and business changed since moving to Bali?
I completely it's changed. I feel like when we're in Grafton, we had our previous business. We were in the pub and we lived upstairs, and we lived on site, and everyone knew what we were doing when we were coming, going. There was kind of real no downtime, and if there was downtime, you'd be just chilling at, reading a book upstairs. The staff downstairs would go, oh, there's a keg out, or the TAB machine's not working, or this isn't working. Can you come down and fix it? So I think living in
Yeah.
Bali and also owning our own business now, I've kind of been able to set my own hours, which means if I
Mm.
want to duck off to go and see a school assembly, or if I want to go to the school swimming carnival, or
Yeah.
friends and family are here and we just want to, go down to the beach and sit on the beach and have a bintang. Like, I feel like that has definitely changed, and it gives me more room. Doesn't mean I'm still not doing work. I just happen
Mm.
to be doing it. Say I put the kids to sleep and then I'll stay up and, late and still do my work. But it's just focusing, okay, this is important time now. I've still got to do the work, but I'm going to
Mm.
choose to do it at a later date. Or so I'm going to get all my work done so I can go to the beach, or so I can go to that swimming carnival.
Wow. Yeah. It's like a.
It's like when you own your own business,
Mm.
and both my husband and I were very like on the pulse. So I kind of, it's your money. If you lose it, you've only got
Yeah.
yourself to blame. So that's,
Exactly. Only you can save yourself.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Cool. So, I guess the next question is, what are some of the biggest misconceptions that you might have had or other people have, about living in Bali, and how would you address them?
Yeah, so I would like definitely like I love living in Bali. I feel like, I was back in, Australia not long ago, $100 for a small bag of groceries. Here, you can go and get the same amount and you're getting so much. Obviously petrol's really cheap here. Dining out, sometimes it's cheaper to dine out and get yourself or get, Gojek and get that spaghetti bolognese, as opposed to going and getting all the ingredients and having to make it.
Oh,
But then you've got more expensive. You've got the things that probably I don't think a lot of people think of, and that's, obviously when you buy a business, more than
yep.
likely, majority of the time you've actually got to purchase that business and you've got to pay for it all up front. It's not like a
Yeah.
lease or anything like that, like back home.
Yeah. No.
Um, so we had to go and,
And
basically
even if
15
it is a
years.
lease, even if it
Yeah.
is a lease, it's like you still got to pay a good chunk of it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we went and did 15 years down front. And then in our contract, we got an extra time.
Mm.
Same with our house. We had to go, okay, we want to live in the house for 10 years. There's X amount down straight away. So I
Mm.
think you really need to research that and go, okay, where do you want to live? And then what are the expenses? Like, for example, our biggest expense is probably, obviously, besides, our house and the pavilion, is sending our kids to school. Like, we're looking at about, 38,000 a year just for schooling. Now
Mm.
that you can actually pay termly, so or quarterly.
Mhm.
So that is still a great expense, but that's the thing, you've got to send your kids to school, right? So there's kind of no other option. Um,
Yep.
yeah, so, and I think that, and also I think, everyone says to you, oh, you're so lucky, you've got a business in Bali. Like, I don't think luck really plays a hand in it. I think, looking back, I think obviously the harder that I think my husband and I work, I think the luckier that we become. So it's
Mm.
not kind of like, oh, you're so lucky, you're in great advantage point type of thing. But it was like, yeah, I feel like we've kind of created our own luck by just head down, bum up, and working hard.
That's right. They say good luck is created by hard work and preparation meeting opportunity.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
I believe that. I really do.
Okay, cool. So, what are some of your favorite things to do in Bali? Both for work and for pleasure.
Um, okay, so I'm a big Sunday brunch fan. I love a good Sunday brunch. That's kind of like our go-to. Friends are in town. Let's do a Sunday brunch. Um,
Or
Absolutely,
at
yeah,
the restaurant, or
brunch
do you,
girl.
do you do you do it somewhere else?
No, I actually feel like I'm a brunch. connoisseur in Bali. Like I kind of know, okay, what type of brunch do you want? Where like I've got friends coming over. Oh, you need to try this brunch. You need to try this brunch. I
Yeah.
love a good Sunday brunch, especially if they've got a bonus, if they've got like a free flow alcohol package.
Mm.
So that would be kind of our go-to. Even the kids love it because majority of the time they've got a swimming pool. They've got kids clubs
Mm.
at your Sunday brunch, so they love coming along.
Yep.
And work-wise, I really enjoy actually hosting Australia themed activities like at the Pavilion. Like, for example, we've got an Anzac Day coming up. So we'll do like an Anzac theme for the Pavilion on the 25th of April. We'll do like Anzac themed food. We did an Australia Day theme, just celebrating Easter. And we do a lot of seafood at the Pavilion. So this weekend's going to be quite busy for us with Easter
Yeah.
coming
Okay.
up. So
Yeah.
yeah, I really like, and I think, we do New Year's Eve celebrations and kind of all the Australian Day public holidays when people are actually in Bali. We do a lot of AFL, NRL grand finals. They love
Oh,
coming and
nice.
hosting them.
Yeah.
So it's quite good. Melbourne Cup Day, anything that we can, when you're in Bali and you want to celebrate something that's happening in Australia, I feel like I love, hosting and doing things like that.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So I guess I'm going to throw you a curveball here.
Yeah.
Would when the Bali expats when we start to do events, would you be happy to host some of the events
Oh,
of
I'd
the
love
Bali
to.
expat community? Oh,
Yeah,
brilliant. Oh,
definitely.
we can talk about that more. Um,
Yeah.
so the next question here, obviously with Bali, some places are cheap, and you were saying that there's unexpected expenses, and really this sort of boils down to how do you manage your finances in Bali, and what are some of the unique aspects of living in Bali from a financial perspective?
Hmm. Well, obviously, just like general day-to-day costs
Mm.
are very, very affordable. I'm very lucky that I am in the position where I can actually have a nanny or a pembantu at home. So obviously, when I'm stuck at work and
Yeah,
busy and
that frees
on
you
the
up
computer all
time.
the time, she's basically doing the stuff that I kind of don't have time to do, but also I really don't want to do. Um,
Yep.
so that in that way, I'm not sure what the costs are to have a cleaner or, someone to look after your children back home. But for us, that is really helps us out. And yeah. Um, and then, yeah, just obviously general day to day. I will say that, Listric's quite expensive here. So the electricity,
Mm.
that's one of the things I think there's a big misconception that everyone goes, power and stuff like that. That's actually quite expensive for us. Just at home, obviously having the
Yeah.
air cons on, and then also at work, we've got
Mm.
18 something TVs that we show sport on, freezers, fridges, everything's keeping the bin tank cold because that's what people want.
Yeah.
And you're looking at about $2,000 a month just for electricity for the pavilion.
That's
So
expensive.
yeah, it's actually pretty crazy. But yeah, I think I wouldn't change, as I said, going back to Perth and I got those bag of groceries, I
Mm.
wouldn't change it. Like I think definitely the good outweighs the bad.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, you get a lot of leverage here, especially because in reality, the money is not just made on the land; it's also made on the labor because the living cost is so low. It allows labor to become cheap, and then that on gives you more time and more energy to do the things that produce you a better result. Um,
Yes.
That's interesting. So, have you looked into any sort of solar options in terms of like, reducing your power usage, or even like, storing power at the restaurant
No,
or at
I
home?
haven't actually. No, I haven't actually looked into that. But that's actually a good. It's actually good that you brought that up because I'd probably have to do some research. It's not
Mm,
well, it's not like you can open up a paper and go, okay, look, I'm looking for solar energy and stuff. So I'd have to
mm.
go for research and look into it. But that's actually quite a good idea.
I think it's a great opportunity. I know a few friends who are into solar in
Yeah,
Australia because it's subsidized and it's a massive thing in Australia, massive
yeah.
industry. But I'm not sure if Bali or Indonesia has any subsidy packages for business owners or even homeowners. I would assume that because they had the G20 summit, they're looking at going really green by the end of 2030. So hey, who knows? Let's do some research, and if anyone in the
Yeah.
anyone in the chat, you know, hears of anything, please feel free to drop it down below in the video. Okay, so Emma, we've talked about a lot of things here. How do you see Bali's future in both the terms of the economy and its role as a global hub for entrepreneurship and creativity?
Yeah, I think majority of Bali is for such a long period of time relied a lot on its tourism.
Mm.
But I think we need to probably look at the look at other sectors, like if we look at like technology, agriculture, and obviously they've got good manufacturing of woodwork and timbers and stuff like that. Probably look at to stay resilient in the economy, focus maybe on sorry, I'm just trying to work out how to word this. Like
Okay.
not the fluctuation in tourism, but maybe look at their exporting of their goods,
Ah,
as opposed to obviously importing a lot of, and look at exporting. Obviously we're so close
LGBT.
to that Asia Pacific region,
Yeah.
and that maybe could be leveraged on trade and good investment opportunities.
Interesting. This is one I haven't heard. Okay, can you
Yeah.
expand on that more?
Well, so everything, like if we look at Bali and what they actually can do, and then focus more on that, and then we can, export it. And then I don't know if they get any, because I don't know if actually Indonesia does have any trade agreements. Obviously,
Yeah.
we've got cattle and stuff like that. But what they're
FDN.
actually really good at,
Yeah.
focus on those, and then exporting those goods.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
But with the I definitely think Bali is a good hub for entrepreneurship, and I feel like this sector is only going to grow and grow, and it's quite attractive for startup and innovators to launch. So I think that's
Beautiful. So
Hmm.
let's say you're an investor or someone who's like in Australia and looking to either start a business or invest in some land to develop. Where are your areas that you've been looking at, and then you could safely say, yeah, this is actually a pretty good spot, and why?
So from, I suppose, a hospitality point of view, because obviously
Mm.
that's what we're in,
Mm.
things I would look for is that, the foot traffic. I would look, for the start of when we looked at the pavilion, you've got to look at like a 1 to 2K radius. So we looked at what up and coming hotels do we have in the area? Are there
Mm.
a mixture of family hotels? Is there, high end hotels? So you need to have a good area and go, okay, you don't want to buy a restaurant that's, there's nothing around it. You're not going to get the foot traffic. You need to
Mm.
look at the foot traffic. And also, we kind of looked at when we had the pavilion, we've actually marketed ourselves. So we're going to target the people. We don't want you to come 1, 2, or 3 times, while
Yep.
you're on holidays. If you're only here for 2 weeks, we want you to try and come every second or third day. As
Yeah.
opposed to if you're opening up a restaurant, you could be high end, but there's so many beautiful restaurants and so many great restaurants in Bali. They might
Oh,
only go to your restaurant once in a 2 week
yeah.
stay, because they
Yeah.
want to
Like
try all the other great, amazing restaurants that
they'd
are
be like
quite,
you.
a
They'd be a
little bit more
connoisseur.
expensive. Yeah. So we're actually marketed. Okay, so we do show football. We've got the NRL, we've got AFL, we've got Union, we've got soccer, EPL. We've catered it. So we want you to come, 2 or 3 times. You want to go and see football on a Friday night? We've got it. We've got it till Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Every game you could possibly imagine. And it's also, I'm happy to just drop my husband off there and I'll go and do some shopping up in 66 and I'll come back and pick him up. So when we actually look for restaurants, it has to be in that type of market.
Wow.
And also, a lot of family hotels were around. So, dad's going up to watch the footy, as I said, kids are going across the road to the beach, or they're swimming in the pool.
It really feels like you've brought sort of the Aussie lifestyle to your neck of the woods in Bali.
Yeah, well, I feel like I feel like we do have a great philosophy on how we run businesses
Mm.
as well. We're very hands-on. And also, we've got customers that come in and they go, oh, where's Mitch? That's my husband. And he just sits down and, he's actually physically not working, but he just sits down and has a beer with them. So they come in and they go, oh, okay, you know what? Mitch is here, the owner's here. I'm going to sit and have a beer with him. We've got in the pavilion, we've got okay, this is kind of the locals table where everyone comes, they feel comfortable, they can sit and, have a drink, we've got a lot of guys who are here in the mines and they do fly in, fly out. They can come in. We haven't seen them for 6 weeks, 8 weeks. They come in and they feel like they're just at home.
Yeah,
So we
nice.
have kind of tried to
it's like a
create that
backyard spot.
environment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, okay. Emma, it has been a pleasure speaking to you. Finally, I've got one last question. What
Yep.
advice would you give someone who's looking to start a business in Bali? I know we've sort of touched upon this, a couple of questions back, but what would be the one thing that you could advise that would sort of make or break and help people make that decision in coming to Bali and investing in a business or in a property?
I think after you've chose your location or you've got your concept, you've got your location, and you've kind of got an idea of, okay, this is how I'm going to launch, or this is what I'm going to do and maneuver into this market. I feel like you really need to get a good notaris. You need to make sure that you're solid, your foundation, your everything to legal matters are locked in tight. And then it's actually obviously you've got an Indonesian copy, and then obviously if you're not very fluent with your Indonesian and you get an English copy, which is pretty much the same, you've got to make sure that's bound. You put all what you expect, and even if you might only get something for 10 years, try and lock in that next 10 years. You might not lock in the price now, but at least you've got first right to get more
You
time
got
on
the
your
option.
business. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. Emma, you have been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for jumping on the podcast and sharing us some of the little insights that you have had along the way. Now, is there anything that you'd like to offer any of the Bali expat community or the Bali travelers information community? Um, you know, an offer if they come into the restaurant or something like this. Is there anything that you'd like to put out there?
Yeah, so obviously, as I said, everyone's welcome. We show great sport, AFL, NRL, all the sports, and we are actually right across from the beach, from Double Six Beach. And our motto is, it's the only place you can watch a sunset and sport at the same time. We've got a great balcony upstairs, and everyone's always welcome. And we do great 2-for-1 cocktails, beer buckets promos. We've got daily food specials every day, and yeah, everyone's welcome.
Nice. So can people find you on Instagram, I assume?
Yes, so we are at Pavilion Surf Club, and then also I'll say that again. Instagram is Pavilion Surf Club Legian Beach, and you can find us on Facebook at Pavilion Surf Club.
Nice. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Emma. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching and tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for tuning into the Bali Unplugged podcast. This episode was sponsored by BaliPropertyFinance.com, where we reduce your barriers of entry so you can easily acquire a property business in Bali.